Why I drive it is because I can. It was just a project that I got into a few years ago, about 2.5 years. And with the help of a great guy, I was able to rebuild and restore. It's a 72 Triumph Spitfire, and it's rebuilt to look almost new. I was looking to get into a car to drive around, have some fun, and I was on computer and I saw there's a group that meets every Sunday in a nearby town, and they have coffee every Sunday. So I went out there and met a bunch of the guys. About 6 weeks later, me and the fellow that organized this group and is the brains behind fixing everything, we took a ride down to Turlock, California. And there's a fella down there had a warehouse, had about a dozen or so collector cars, and in the back he had junk cars, and this was one of the junk cars. It hadn't been used for years. It was completely filled with parts and stuff that he had stuffed in there, keep them out of the rain. The only thing they had going for it is that the floor pans and the underneath part of the carriage was totally rust-free, and that's big with these British cars. We took it all apart, and about a month after we got the car, we got it into a paint shop. A couple of weeks later, we were able to get it back from the paint shop. We painted it blue, as you can see, and then we started the restoring and rebuilding. Well, what I enjoy the most is driving with the top down, wind in my face and hair, driving down country roads with turns and ups and downs and all that. It's a real fun car. It's not a muscle car by any extent, but you know, you can get it up to 60, 70 miles an hour. Driving the freeway is a little bit dicey because of the size of everything. This is a small car. It's a 2-passenger, and it's a little bigger than a go-kart. But it is fun. It's got a 4-cylinder engine. We've modified it a little bit so we get a little more horsepower out of it. It's a 4-speed, which I hadn't driven a manual shift car in years. So it's just fun. I don't go out for any special therapy, but I feel darn good doing it. I feel darn good when I'm done with it. I mean, the good thing about a car like a Triumph or MGs and cars like that is they're relatively inexpensive compared to, say, an Austin Healey or, of course, a Jaguar. And then the parts are easily accessible through the internet. 25 years ago, this would have been real difficult to do. But there's a lot of support out there. There's a lot of clubs and a lot of people that you can connect with on the internet. The cost kind of creeps up on you because, as I said, we started from scratch almost. And so first you rebuild it, and you have to get the parts to rebuild the engine and suspension and all that. And then you start looking at things that you can add, and that's where you start spending more money than you didn't have to, like wire wheels, different carburetor, things like that, luggage rack, just to get a little more bling and chrome on it. I'm not interested in selling it, but I mean, I probably couldn't even sell it for what I've got into it right now. So I've got to look at it from the standpoint, You buy a new car, a year later it's worth $10,000 less than when you bought it. So this won't do that, but if I drive it for a few years, that'll be worth everything I spent for it. When I went back to the local car show, which was last year, it won top prize for a sports car. They didn't differentiate between American or British, just top sports car, which I thought was amusing because they had Mustangs and Camaros and all that. But I got it, and that's great. Knock on wood, a single problem with the engine, or I did have a little problem with the transmission. We put an overdrive transmission in it now, which makes it much better for driving faster because you're not turning as many RPMs when you shift it into overdrive. But overall, it's been pretty successful, and if we never win another prize, I've got them. My family and friends can see them, and it's a lot of fun.